Link.
Dragon.
Link.
It's almost time for Dragon.
Link.
Come along, take my hand. Let's all go to
The YCS. Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts! I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Rhoda is releasing, and with it, a whole new host of playables to play around with. But instead of trying any of those, let's try to wring some more blood from the stone that just won't stop bleeding. Presenting Dragon Link.
Good old Dragon Link, every day until I die.
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. I've been shilling Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck for, well, years at this point, and I'm happy to announce I have no intention of stopping anytime soon. By now, they've become the most complete repository of tournament tops on the internet, the best place to jam prog with friends, and of course, still host strategy articles. Recently, they've added a new piece of infrastructure to the fold, a 3-card arena draft, draftable with card pools featuring classic formats, Master Duel, or within any parameters you like. Give it, or any of their other features, a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's dive into Dragon Link. Dragon Link is the consequence of Konami's inability to stop printing big-ass dragons that make you chest. Now entering its 5th year of playability, this pile's been playing every relevant dragon longer than the average Farfa viewer has been alive. From rockets, to Gar Dragons, to Blue Eyes, to Chaos, to Bystials, this list is as powerful as it is malleable, always able to find room for the most powerful dragons of the day. Unfortunately, while it's bounced back from Chaos Ruler and Agrippin bans, it seems the deck was finally dealt a death blow with the ban of Borreload, Dragon, and Baron. Until now! Historically, the deck's been on Black Metal Dragon, a good enough starter that has exactly 2 search targets, DMD and Meteor Black Dragon, alongside some Psy-frames, but that changes in Rhoda with the release of Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon, a monster that gives the deck some much-needed negation in a world barren of Baron. In my opinion, this shifts the focus of the deck dramatically, from a balls-to-the-wall combo deck to one more reminiscent of Bystial Runic, which aims to overwhelm your opponent with Bystials and big attacks. So with that, let's get into the card by card. We'll begin with, of course, Black Metal Dragon and its 2 targets, 1 DMD and 1 Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon. If you haven't watched my short, I'll just give you the overview. This card has to be summoned with a card called Enhanced METALMORPH. You'll tribute a level 5 or higher dragon monster, thankfully you are full of those, and once you have it in your grip, you can set said Metalmorph from your deck, shuffle this card into the deck, then summon it out using the effect of that trap card. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can negate the activation, and here's an important thing it does, inflict damage to them equal to one of their attack position monster's original attack. Obviously, this screams time win con, even if it's a little clunky, what prevents your opponent from just ending the phase in time, but it also does a great job of cleaning up a game that otherwise would be lost. Think of a lot of scenarios where 2 25s hit directly, and now you just need a way to cinch it. After that, we've got the Bystials, 3 copies of Lubellion, 1 copy of Magnemut, 2 Druisworm, 3 Saronir, and 1 Baldric. This is a lot. It's a lot of Bystials, but it's also a format in which the Bystials are kind of at a premium. A lot of people playing dark monsters, especially Yubel. And if you think that Azamino won't force people to play more Fiends Smithy lines, you are sorely mistaken. For our other starter, we've got Starliege Seifert. This card can send any number of dragons from your hand or face of field to the graveyard to add a dragon from your deck to your hand whose level equals the total original levels of those monsters sent to the graveyard, and can be banished in order to cycle back a level 8 light or dark dragon monster. Speaking of, we have this one, Dark End Evaporation Dragon. We are playing one half of the new Big Dragon Lord. You can banish a level 8 dragon from your extra deck to special summon this card from your hand, and you are locked into dragons for the rest of the turn. You can also fusion summon using monsters from your hand or field, and there are some pretty good targets for that as well. After that, we've got 1 copy of Wyver Burster, 1 copy of Collapse Serpent, and a card I'm sure you're surprised to see, Nutbuster Dragon. If this card is normally special summoned, you can target 2 cards on the field, destroy them, and this card gains attack for each card destroyed. Turns out you have a lot of ways to make this happen, not least of which is, of course, the FTK. Seals Pass. We have Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon, and 2 1-drops, Samsara Dragon, which can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a dragon monster and can be banished from the graveyard to target a level 5 or higher dragon monster in the graveyard, add it to the hand, then tribute summon that monster if you desire. And Metal Copycat. This card is a level 5 during your opponent's turn And if normal or special summoned, you can set a Metalmorph trap from your deck that if you have enhanced Metalmorph in your graveyard, you can draw a card. You can also declare a monster type for this card to become that type until the end of your opponent's turn. Importantly, this is a card you can summon off of 1/1, which has one other really fantastic target in Black Metal Dragon. We are playing the 1 copy of Chaos Space You Are Allowed alongside a Dragon Ravine, and 2 of, admittedly the best card in the deck, Branded Regain. If a light or dark monster is banished, you can target one of those monsters, place that monster on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw a card, and if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you can target a Bystial in your graveyard, special summon it. You can expect to be activating both of these effects every single turn of the entire game, and getting your opponent to a position where they can't overwhelm you in terms of card advantage, a la Bystial Runic. Finally, we have the Enhanced Metalmorph, which can be activated by tributing a face-up monster to special summon a monster that can't be normal summoned or set and mentions it from your hand, deck, or graveyard. The equipped monster is going to gain 400 attack and defense, can't be targeted by monster and spell effects, and can't be destroyed by monster and spell effects either. Really hard to out your Omni. Finally, our non-engine. Very interesting statement in Dragon Link. We are playing 3 Fua Loss, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 Veilers, 1 Called By, and triple in FIP. In the extra, we've got the usual suspects: Striker, Pisty, Double Hieratic Seal, an IP Masquerena, a Romulus, SP Little Knight, Dark, Triple Burst Dragon, and that concludes our Link monsters. This is new for Dragon Link. It's kind of known for ending on these really powerful bosses, not least of which is Boral End, the Link 5 that has kind of become a staple in the archetype. But like I said, this is a different take on the strategy. You can, of course, still play the explosive balls to the wall combo fest that Dragon Link is known to produce, but it turns out you then lose to a lot of the cards that beat better decks as well. This is kind of the best way to play around things that have, in the past, doomed this deck to rogue status at best. We're playing a couple of 8s, Hope and of course Typhon is in here as well. We're also playing a Chaos Angel. 10s are really easy to get to. It just turns out there's one you can't make anymore. And then some fusions. Borreload Furious Dragon is a really powerful card. This card is just came out. It's Protostar Dragon of the Void, and a fusion summoned allows you to target cards your opponent controls up to the number of light and dark monsters you use as material and destroy them. Then if this card is banished, you can target a level 4 light or dark dragon monster you control and its level becomes 8. If you banish this with the effect of the Dark End Evaporation Dragon, then you can do some really fun stuff. Finally, we are playing 1 copy of Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, because guess what? This guy is a dark and this guy is a light, and theoretically you can make this guy. In the side, we've got 3 copies of Nibiru, 3 copies of Ghost Ogre, 3 copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and 3 evenly matched. So with that, let's jump into a game. Our first match is up against Fiendsmith Live Twin, and I really like how the Fiendsmith has breathed new life into these really low-to-the-ground archetypes by giving them this explosive ceiling they wouldn't be able to otherwise access. A lot of these decks were just completely languishing in Rogue because they can't do as much as the top strategies, and in that way the Fiendsmith has been really good for them. Here they're just doing the motions, getting to a Trouble Sunny before they fire off the Fiendsmith in order to grab a Tractus. They'll go for the Tractus. We've got 2 Druis Worm, but I'm going to save it for the activation of the Fiendsmith effect, because since it's the same card twice, we can only activate one of them, so it's gotta hurt, and I think we can actually deal with the Trouble Sunny. Probably not the Caesar or whatever. Our opponent's going to go for the effect of the Fiendsmith here, and then as we blanket, they fire off this Triple Tactics Talents. Don't find what they're looking for, but they do have a Nibiru. Here's where I get to show off one of the really impressive parts of this deck. They're going to go Necroquip to draw here, which is annoying, but we're going to go White Dragon Wyver Burster into a copy of Chaos Angel, where you're going to go for the effect of the Chaos Angel and the effect of the White Dragon Wyver Burster and the effect of the Druis Worm in order to send as much as possible to the graveyard and grab ourselves a Black Dragon Collapse Serpent in the process. We're going to go for Seifert and Collapse Serpent and then shuffle back the Wyver Burster before going to combat. Strange, I know, but putting our opponent low is really, really good in a world where we're always expecting we're going to eventually be able to get to the Enhanced Metalmorph line and burn our opponent for the remainder. We're going to be Called by the Grave the Evil Twin Trouble Sunny, and in so doing, playing low to the ground, we have not given our opponent a profitable Nibiru. Instead, they're going to have to fire it after we make Seal, which turns off the Seal, but the Seal does trigger because it was tributed, allowing us to resolve the effect of our Magnamut and end on an IP Masquerena as well. We have the Druis Worm for their follow-up Fiendsmith, and all of a sudden our opponent's in a really rough position. As they perform in normal, they aren't able to trigger the effect of their Leela Treat, so we're going to be able to SP Little Knight and Druis Worm their board away. They'll go Signet Mining in order to get a Leela, and then they'll scoop them up. Our second match is up against Runic Whitewoods, and they've got 2 Bystials in the opener. We're going to see a bit of a meeting of the minds here. Our deck aims to play low to the ground and use control tools and the Bystials to choke an opponent out of the game, and they're kind of doing the same thing. We're going first, and as you can see, we don't need to go for this big explosive board. We can keep it really low-key. We're going to go for the effect of the Black Metal Dragon. They will Serenir, banishing it, no big deal. We still get to trigger it to go into DMD, and we'll fire off the Regain. From here, we can go into DMD, and the DMD trigger gets us a Regain draw. We'll go for the DMD in order to summon out a Druis Worm into Hieratic Seal. Then we can send our opponent's copy of Saronir using the Druisworm we used as material. They will use the Saronir to send a Bestial Lubellion, and then they'll start with a Saronir targeting our DMD. From here, we can go Branded Regained, and then Branded Regained again. That's going to bring us back this copy of Druisworm, and it's going to draw us a card as well. Veiler's a nice one. They're going to go for the Bestial Lubellion and the effect of the Bestial Saronir, setting a second one. We will max Metalmorph here in order to get a full Metal Dragon, and then we can use the Druisworm to send the copy of Bestial Lubellion. Our opponent's going to go for a Sylvie here. That's worth an effect Veiler, I think. Then afterwards, they are going to go ahead and fire the Runic Fountain, unsurprisingly. Down comes the Slumber to summon a Runic card. It is Hugin. They'll go Fountain for 1. We might as well bounce that back to the hand to prevent it from resolving, then activate the effect of the Seal to go into Grand Tusk. That's going to eat the entire field, and our opponent is left on just about nothing here. They do get to go for the effect of the LZ, but we still have an Omni. We will go ahead and negate that. They will go to the battle and end. Should just be a pretty easy cleanup from this position. We'll activate 1 for 1 and grab ourselves a copy of Samsara Dragon. Then we can send those two off to the graveyard for a Romulus. Romulus effect for a Dragon Ravine, and Samsara in order to cycle back this copy of Druisworm. We'll go Regained here in order to get a draw, then Metal Copycat into a Pisty. From here we can go Druisworm, target the Metal Copycat to summon itself, and these two into Triple Burst Dragon. We'll go Pisty in order to summon back Druisworm at that link point, and go to the battle phase where we will hit for well over lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Fiendsmith Yubel. You'll notice I skipped over the what else because I think this upcoming format is liable to be a lot more open than the one we just left. Unfortunately for our opponent, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've opened a Fuwalas. Good luck to them. They're going to go for Dark Beckoning Beast. That's going to grab them a gate. They'll go gate for another Dark Beckoning Beast, and then the extra normal on that Dark Beckoning Beast. From here, they're going to make a Moon. We will draw a card. Oh, guess what? It's another Fuwalas. We'll fire it, and rather than give us 2 draws every time they go into the extra deck, they just pass here. We're going to go for Druisworm here, targeting the Dark Beckoning Beast in end step, and then in main phase, go for the Saronir, targeting the second copy. From here, we're going to activate Dark Evaporation Dragon to summon itself and go to the battle phase. Remember, putting our opponent under the enhanced Metalmorph burn is pretty much a winner at all times. We'll go into Hieratic Seal here in order to send the Bestial Lubellion and then just start cycling. Bestial Lubellion here for a Branded Regained pass turn, and our opponent draws. They grab a Samsara Lotus here, which is scary. They're going to lead with a Tractus. Afterwards, they'll activate the effect of the Fabled Lurry to summon it to their side of the field, which triggers our Regained and allows us to get back this copy of Druisworm. They're going to go for Mature Chronicle afterwards into a Fiendsmith Requiem. That's going to summon from deck a copy of Lacrima the Scarlet Sorrow. That is probably worth a copy of Effect Veiler. Afterwards, they're going to go for the Requiem, targeting the Scarlet Sorrow into a Necroquip, into a normal Samsara D Lotus. Let's put that back in the hand, please. Then we'll activate the effect of the Hieratic Seal for the Grand Tusk, which is unfortunately in our hand, and we'll try and blow up the remainder of the board. They're going to go for Gruesome Grave Squirmer here. We do get to blow it up, and they will get to go to Yama. Yama here is going to grab a copy of Sharvara, and then Gruesome Grave Squirmer to summon out the Lotus. We will regain, targeting the Grave Squirmer, shuffling it back and drawing, and they do unfortunately make their way to Spirit of Yubel. Okay, we're going to have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. That's going to grab them a Nightmare Pain. They will activate the Nightmare Pain, then afterwards they'll activate the effect in order to pop the Spirit of Yubel, triggering the effect of the Spirit of Yubel in order to summon a Yubel from deck. From here, they can link off into an Unchanged Soul of Rage and then make a copy of Phantom before activating Sharvara, targeting the Rage, at which point we will activate the effect of the Druisworm, targeting the Yama. They will prompt the effect of the Phantom of Yubel and trigger the effect of the Spirit and the Yama and the Rage, and just going all the way off here. They're going to shuffle that sucker back into Yubel and then make another Phantom before going to the battle phase. They get to do 6,000 to me here, but it isn't lethal, so we are still in it. They're going to go for the Yubel effect at end step. They have to tribute here, and tributing the Sharvara is really good for them because they can get Abominable Chamber, but I'm still feeling okay. Samsara is an interesting draw. They're going to go for Lacrima in order to go into Requiem. No big deal. That triggers the effect of the Regained. We can bring back the Saronir, and we'll go to main phase 1. Let's lead with a Romulus and activate the effect of the Druisworm. That Romulus is CL2, blocking the Druisworm, which means our opponent is able to use the Phantom of Yubel and the effect of the Requiem to go into the Fiendsmith. From here, we can go for a Samsara Dragon into a Pisty. Samsara here is going to target the Bestial Lubellion, which when our opponent will Abominable Chamber, and we will Druisworm, targeting this copy of Rage. They're going to bring back Sharvara, and we will grab the Bestial Lubellion a hand, then we'll go for Triple Burst, at which point they will Nibiru. This is a pretty bad Nibiru for them in terms of their own board, because it's now gone, but it's a pretty bad Nibiru in terms for us, because we don't really have much to follow it up with. We'll go Magnemut, targeting this copy of the Fiendsmith, and then we'll activate the effect of the Regain and the effect of the Magnemut as well, in order to shuffle it back, draw a card, and then go into a copy of Dark. We'll Dark, target the Yubel, then afterwards we can link those off for an SP Little Knight, which can banish this Nightmare Pain to ensure they don't have follow-up, and a Typhon to ensure they have nothing left on their side of the field. Unfortunately, that also means we can't attack, so we just have to whiff one draw phase. What they already have is going to get them to Phantom, which is irritating. We get to trigger the effect of the Branded Regained here, bringing back the Baldrake, and they pass here, but we really don't have a fantastic out to this card as of yet. We'll go Druisworm, target the Phantom. We do get to summon that out, and then we'll make a copy of IP Masquerade. Druisworm, target this copy of Phantom, which will proc the Phantom. They'll go Phantom in order to destroy a Yubel, which triggers its effect and allows them to summon a copy of Terra Incarnate. We don't have a good out for this either. Okay, we're kind of flailing here, but I think we can still do it. Just drawing them in card advantage is kind of good enough. enough because they can't contend the never-ending conga line of Bystials. They finally find a Nightmare Throne, and now we are in it. They're going to go for the Nightmare Throne into a Samsara D Lotus. We will regain here, targeting the Druis Worm. Then afterwards, they're going to activate the effect of the Lotus in order to grab a copy of Spirit of Yubel, and they do not have a target. Terra Incarnate's going to destroy everything at the end phase. They'll go the effect of the Nightmare Throne and the Spirit of Yubel. We will go for the Druis Worm, sending the Terra Incarnate, and they will shuffle back and get the Terra Incarnate again. They'll summon back the Yubel, and the effect of the Samsara D Lotus will trigger. We will Druis Worm to get that off the field. Then we will go for the Regained in order to draw a card, at which point the Terra Incarnate will also trigger, sending everything a second time. Okay, all we got to deal with is this guy, and thankfully we finally have the tool with which to do it. We're going to go for the Max Metalmorph. Now it's time to go for the Striker Dragon, Black Metal Dragon into a copy of Full Metal Dragon. Again, we'll go for DMD. That's going to trigger the Regained and allow us to activate the DMD in order to summon back the Druis Worm, cycle it for the Lubellion, Druis Worm, target the Terra Incarnate, the Nibiru again, which is just so irritating, but we are going to be able to use the Regained as they use the Nightmare Throne in order to cycle back this copy of Yubel, and we're able to summon back this copy of Druis Worm. We'll pass one final time. They'll draw Max Metalmorph. Activate a card effect, please. We will send their Yubel. They're going to activate Nightmare Throne. We'll negate it. We'll pop this Nibiru, and we will get out of this game. Game 2. All right, our opponent's going first, and they've got a Fiendsmith and not a lot else. So activate the effect of the Fiendsmith. We will Ash Blossom, and oh, if it were only so easy. Down comes the Called by the Grave. Afterwards, our opponent is going to grab a copy of Tractus, activate the Tractus to grab a Lurry, summon the Lurry, and summon the Lurry from the graveyard. That Lurry, of course, is going to translate into a Requiem, and that Requiem is going to translate into a Lacrima, the Scarlet Sorrow. We'll send another Fiendsmith and activate the Requiem effect in the graveyard, equipping to the Scarlet Sorrow to make a Necro Quip from extra. Finally, they're going to set 3 and activate the Fiendsmith, and afterwards they'll make a Caesar. Not a very Yubeli card, but a scary one, especially backed up by 3 back row. We draw for turn. They're going to go for the Lacrima here. Afterwards, we're going to go for the effect of our Dark End Evaporation Dragon. That's going to get Caesared. We'll chain Ghost Ogre so we don't have to contend with the second one. Down comes Requiem and Book of Eclipse. A little confused here, but they're going to go for Lacrima, and then a Point of Resolution. They can activate the effect of the Lacrima on field as we lose our Evaporation Dragon. They'll send another Fiendsmith. We will Bystial Lubellion for a Magnemite, then activate the effect of the Magnemite, targeting the Fiendsmith in order to summon it to our side of the field. We'll activate the effect of the Magnemite on field. They will Imperm. That's fine with us because this Magnemite is not long for this world. Out comes the Lubellion. We'll activate the effect, setting a branded Regained. My bad. We're going to go for the effect of the DMD into Striker Dragon. Unfortunately, our opponent does have one final Book of Eclipse, so we're forced to pass here, but we draw 2 cards at the end phase as our monsters are flipped up. One of those is a Bystial, so we will hit another Fiendsmith. In main phase, they'll activate the 3rd and final Fiendsmith, which we can banish with this copy of Magnemite, then afterwards trigger the effect of the Regained and the effect of the Magnemite on field as well. That's going to shuffle one of those bad boys back and draw us a card as they go for Lacrima for Requiem. Requiem effect, we will Ash Blossom, and at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. They'll set 1 card and pass turn. We'll grab back the Evaporation. This should be all she wrote. We'll go for the effect of the Evaporation, sending this Borlord Furious, and the effect of the Regain, shuffling back the Borlord Furious, then the effect of the Evaporation, to which our opponent will chain the Lacrima, cycling back this Requiem. From here, we can make the one, the only Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. That's so cool. Wait, hold up. Okay, it's a little less cool than I'd hoped because I'm now counting and realize that we do not have lethal. Okay, thankfully our opponent's not going to be able to do anything from here. We will just go ahead and draw. They'll activate Azuroon. That, of course, is negated by our Dragon Lord. And then afterwards we can go to battle phase and win the game. So we're back with the deck, and wow, been a while since we had a clean sweep. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. Black Metal Dragon is just an incredible normal summon. It gets you pretty much everything you want. Multiple searches means you can just access both the Metalmorph Negate and the extra extenders. 2, on the topic of the Metalmorph Negate, the Metalmorph engine gives the deck an Omni you can access easily. It's also attached to this 3800 body that has protection that burns your opponent. And 3, all of this is backed up with a huge amount of non-engine, including the Bystials, which are engine for you, but also perform a non-engine function. It's just great against the best decks of the format, and you can play super low to the ground and non-committal, or you can just be aggressive with Bystials to push for lethal. And the cons. 1. Every version of the deck is going to have a problem with Droll and Lockbird and Shifter. Both of these cards basically just end your turn. Full Metal can still set the trap through Droll, which is something, but it is a cold comfort. 2, going second against decks that don't care about Bystials can make your Bystial heavy hands feel a lot less impactful and a lot harder to stick. Usually you're going to be playing into full power boards and banishing your own graveyard. And 3, this version plays more non-engine than extenders, so frequently you're going to be left on Seal's Pass after a hand trap or 2. Although admittedly, that is still an FTK. Overall, Dragon's got a neat little buff from this engine. Expect to see it in any generic Dragon deck of the future, and maybe even experimented with in future formats. So that's that. A huge shouts out to the individuals who make these videos possible, most notably my Patreons. The high tier ones are in front of you right now, and I will read their names as contractually obligated. First up is Slifer274, followed by Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Brett Henry, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, Devin Senpai, DJ Elefante, FPS Lord Derp, John Piet, Killer Croc 467, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Lullaby of Souls, Master of Faster, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Nebulo Yu-Gi-Oh!, Project Mercury, Rose Lapine, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, Your Pot of Greed Does What, and Yuki. Couldn't have done it without you.